Good afternoon, everyone, and my name is Sylwia. I'm pleased to present Polish country report. On the first slide, however, you will see the names of all authors of Polish country report, because we were working in a team of 4 people. So now it's visible. So I will start with some introduction parts, explaining what were premises behind the implementation of the integrated qualification system in Poland and some legal basis. Later on, I will go through the core of the presentation, I mean types of qualification and the procedure how to include market and regulated qualification. And of course, what are the costs related to this procedure. And at the end, I will summarize key action conducted currently in Poland to develop the integrated qualification system. So, as you know, increasingly people learn outside the formal context, outside the formal school and training, for example, through work experience, in company trainings, some digital resources, or volunteering. So those skills can be validated and awarded while the integrated qualification system is developed. So the Polish qualification frameworks is including all types of education. It means formal school qualifications, vocational, higher education, regulated and market qualification. So for this reason, it will give for us greater integration of the qualifications system in Poland, and of course better response to lifelong learning challenges which Poland was and is still facing. And as you probably know, the participation of adults in lifelong learning activities is quite low. So it's one of educational priorities in Poland now. Another challenges underpinning the development of IQS are strengthening the human capital and matching supply and demand in the labor market. And of course, this action taken to develop IQS are in line with national strategies and documents, for example, like strategy on responsible development or lifelong learning perspective. And of course with European strategies and recommendation, like for example Council recommendation on NQF and new strategy for skills development, or Council recommendation on validation of non-formal and informal learning. So to summarize, the Polish qualifications framework and the integrated qualification system is perceived as one of the most important lifelong learning policy tools in Poland. And the Act on the Integrated Qualification System was introduced in December 2015. And it established a Polish qualifications framework which has 8 levels, and the integrated qualifications register, which is publicly accessible through internet portal, and all data collected there is also public for interested people. And it's very important that this register comprises all qualification included in the system. It means formal, school, vocational, higher education, regulated and market qualification. And if the qualification is present in the register, it means that its credibility is confirmed by public authorities in Poland, and it has a defined Polish qualification framework level. This act also established coordination of the integrated qualification system, and it's the minister coordinator responsible for these tasks. In our case, is the Ministry of National Education. And for example, the minister leads the interministerial task force for lifelong learning. It also coordinates other ministries and cooperates with stakeholders' council. A minister also monitors the functioning of the whole system, and in case there is a request from the Council of Ministers, the ministry prepares reports on the qualification. This act also defines the responsibilities of other ministries and role of the stakeholder council. What is very important and useful for us, it specifies types of qualification and the most important terms related to qualification. It facilitates our work and all actors involved in the system. And it specifies also how to, in very detailed way, how to include qualification in the system. And for those qualifications who are awarded outside the formal system, it specifies also internal and external quality assurance systems. And here you have overview of typology of qualification included in the integrated qualification system. So there are full and partial qualification, and there was this comments made by Anne that there is a linguistic issue with partial qualification, and of course in Poland it does not mean that it's part of full qualification. It's different type and with different status. And as Horace mentioned, these types are based on the legal status. It means school qualification are awarded based on the School Education Act and Act on the Higher Education. Regulated qualification are awarded based on other legal acts, but they are not awarded in the formal school system. And at the end we have market qualification, and they are not regulated by any legal act. They are awarded based on this principle of freedom of economic activity. And I will show you some examples of all this qualification. So for full qualification, coming from general education, there can be certificate of completing primary school or Matura certificates, or certificates of completing secondary school. In vet education, there are vocational diploma, and in higher education, master's degree, bachelor degree, or PhD degree. And here we start with partial qualification, the first type, because as you see here, as you see here, not all of school qualification are full qualification. Some of them are partial qualification, and here you can see examples. There can be vet certificates which are awarded by regional examination board, or postgraduate diploma, which are awarded after some non-degree courses. It can be, for example, project management or teaching Polish language as a foreign language. The second type of partial qualifications are regulated qualification, regulated by different acts than this Educational Act and Act on Higher Education. And it can be, for example, diverse license, which is awarded by Special Maritime Board in Gdynia in Poland, or tax advisor awarded by National Examination Board on Tax Counseling, or electricity installation awarded by Association of Polish Electricians. And the last type of partial qualification are market qualification. For example, real estate management or computer skills certificate, which will be soon, we hope, included because it's at the last stage of the procedure of inclusion. And carpentry, assembly and construction, which was the first qualification included in the integrated qualification system in Poland. It was on the level 3. And here you have overview of the procedure of including market qualification. Submitting body is an institution preparing application to include qualification in the system. And all submitting body are going with application through one entity operating the registry, and currently is the Polish Agency for Enterprise Development, but from the next year it will be Educational Research Institute. And this entity is assessing the formal aspect of the application. And later it sends the application to the relevant minister. And this minister starts assessment of the whole application, going through leveling and stakeholders consultation. And if the result is positive, this qualification is included in the register. So we will go now through all these steps which is conducted by the relevant minister to include the qualification. So the first step is consultation. The information about qualification is sent to the relevant stakeholders, and also it's published on the NQFs portal. So the stakeholders has opportunity to submit their opinion about this proposed qualification. And later on, at the end, the minister prepares summary of the consultation. It's published on the NQFs portal and simultaneously sent to the submitting body. And the next steps is opinion of specialists. They are selected by the minister, and they provide opinion if there is a need, social, economic need to include this qualification. And first step is connected with the second one, because this summary of the consultation is given to the specialist. And of course, this specialist has to possess some practical experience in this particular qualification. And later on, the minister assesses the application. And there are several elements which are taken into account. So, like the learning outcomes, they are relevant for this qualification, and task defined in the qualification. And also if the validation settings are relevant for the learning outcomes. And the minister takes into consideration also social need and needs of labor market and expectation of employers. Minister also has to analyze the existing qualification in the system, if there are some similar qualification. And if minister decide that it should not be included in the system, has to provide a justification for the submitting body. And later on, if the decision is positive, the minister appoints a group of experts to recommend a national qualification framework level. So the team of experts compares the learning outcomes required for the qualification to the Polish qualification framework level descriptors. And if there is a sectoral qualification framework, they need to refer also to this sectoral qualification framework. But in the case the level is 6, 7 or 8, the minister might consult this opinion with the Minister of Science and Higher Education to confirm the result of comparison made by experts. Later on, the minister sends this opinion, this expert recommendation to the Stakeholders Council for their opinion, and if it's negative, the team of experts should refer to this. But decision concerning the level taken by this group of experts is binding for the minister. So it's very important that it's not the minister deciding on the level, but it's the group of specialists and experts. And if the process is positive, this announcement about the inclusion of qualification is published in Polish Monitor, is official journal to publish legal acts in Poland. And these announcements includes a lot of information about qualification, the name of qualification, level, learning outcomes, validation settings, and if needed, some additional conditions which should be met by potential awarding bodies, sometimes additional requirements for people who will be undergoing validation. It can be, for example, level of qualification. And the time period after which the qualification is reviewed. And later on, the information is sent to the entity operating register. It means for this Polish Agency for Enterprise Development. But I would like to point out that the qualification on this step is included, not functioning, because to be functioning in the system, there should be some awarding body and later on some external quality assurance body assigned to this awarding body. And later on, the minister announced on the NQFs portal that potential awarding bodies may apply to become an awarding body. And this procedure, how to become awarding body in Poland, is described in very detailed way in our country report, and it's accessible through the project website. And we will not go through the procedure for including regulated qualification because it's very similar, and the main difference is who starts the procedure. And in case of regulated qualification is the ministry who is responsible for this task, not submitting body. So to summarize, it's very important that we have stakeholders present in this procedure of inclusion because they are involved in assessing the social and economic need to include the qualification in the IQS, but also they are involved in determining the level of the qualification, and that's the very special role of the Stakeholders Council, which also supports the minister coordinator and monitors the functioning of the whole system. And it's very important to say that they also provide opinion on legal acts. and they also provide recommendation and opinion on the inclusion of sectoral framework in Poland. And what's interesting, the minutes from each meeting are publicly accessible through the NQFs portal. So everyone can see what was discussed and what was important during the meetings. And here the short overview of the ownership, which is very important topic in Poland, because when qualification, market qualification is included in the register, it goes to the public domain. It means that the submitting body is not the owner of the qualification, and there can be several awarding bodies for the same qualification. So the premises behind this solution is to avoid monopolization of the market, qualification market, but it will be the challenge to have the same results received in each awarding body and the same quality assurance system. And here you can see an overview of cost of including market qualification. So submitting body pays around 500 euro for application to include one market qualification. It's per qualification cost. And 500 euro in Poland, it's around minimum salary. And here you can see the cost to become an awarding body. So if it's the same institution which was submitting the qualification in the system, it's around 1,250 euro. But for other institution who would like to be awarding body, it's double price. So like small reward for including qualification. And here I will summarize what's going on now in Poland, because the act was introduced in December 2015, so we had just 1 year and few months to develop the system. And as you know from Czech and France cases, it's not too much. It's 1 year, it's sometimes a time for inclusion of one qualification. So, Educational Research Institute is carrying out a lot of tasks related to the development of the system, like support to potential awarding bodies to design validation processes, and support to submitting bodies to formulate learning outcomes in qualification. Just to give you an overview, we organized around 150 meetings to support those organizations, and they were conducted with a lot of institutions in Poland, like Polish Craft Association, the Accounts Association, National Scouting and Guiding Association, Polish Oncological Psychology Association, and a lot of more of institutions. Institute also prepare entities to become external quality assurance body and disseminates information about integrated qualification system on national level through conferences, and on regional level through regional seminars with stakeholders, local administration, councillors, etc. And of course we work with ministries to support them to include all solution and to be prepared for assessing the application. That's very important task to learn how assess those applications for inclusion of qualification. And here you can see some statistics. All qualification awarded in formal education system were included in 2016, and there are around 9,000 full qualification and around 300 partial qualification included in the integrated qualifications register. And here you can see qualifications from outside the formal qualification system. So, as I said, we have one market qualification already included, and around 20 qualifications are submitted and proceeded by ministries to include them in the system. And around 50 qualifications which are prepared with support of the Educational Research Institute. And it should be said that with this regulated qualification, as I mentioned, that it's ministries responsible for reviewing and including them. So the Act on IQS obliged all ministries to review regulated qualification within the next 5 years and decide if they should be included in the system. Thank you.